Watching Business Morning live from Channels HQ. I'm Ladi Williams. Good morning, good evening, wherever the world you're watching from right here. Thank you for sharing your morning with us right here. Let's take a look at what's in the news now. We see for 4 more regulations to guide operations for the midstream and downstream sector of the oil and gas industry in the country will be released in the coming weeks, and that's according to the Nigeria Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. According to the oil market regulator, the framework is expected to address legal concerns arising from the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act and the authority's regulation of activities. About 12 regulations have already been gazetted following the passage of the PIA in 2021. 8 more are in the process of being gazetted. Let's take a look at what's happening with global oil markets now. We see oil futures dipped today amid demand fears after the Federal Reserve chairman hinted at further interest rate hikes while traders wait official U.S. inventory data following an industry export that showed an unexpected draw in crude stocks. Brent futures fell about 22 cents to $76.90 a barrel, while U.S. WTI crude futures, that was down about 17 cents, about 0.2% at $72.36 a barrel. We'll drill down on what to expect in the market later on the show. To the grains market now, Chicago corn futures edged lower as traders locked in profits after a recent rally over concerns about dry weather conditions in key areas of the U.S. Midwest. Soybean and wheat futures were also headed for losses. Corn futures, CV1, that was down about 0.8% to $6.24 a bushel after hitting a more than 2-month high in the previous session. The most active soybean contract on the Chicago Board of Trade, SV1, that was down about 0.6% at $13.68 for half a bushel. And wheat futures, WV1 gave about 0.5% at $7.44. And back here, the Federal Inland Revenue Service has signed an MOU with the Market Traders Association of Nigeria in a bid to attract the informal economy into the tax net and eliminate multiple taxation. Let's take a listen.
The administration of VAT in the informal sector is characterized mainly by a low level of compliance and a lack of awareness in terms of obligation and liability. It therefore becomes necessary to leverage the Matam platform to positively change the status quo. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, another issue that the government is worried about is the issue of multiplicity of taxes. The FIRS and Joint Tax Board are currently working on various modalities of addressing this challenge, and these partnerships have laid a very good foundation for the government for addressing the issue of multiple taxation and extortion by tax officials, tax agents, touts in our marketplace. Given the strength of Matam with over 40 million members and the biggest player in the marketplace across all 774 local governments and 37 states of the Federation and FCT, it is a mix of the formal and the informal business community. We require that a combined monitoring and evaluation team comprising FIRS and officers, FIRS officers and Matam members be formed immediately. As part of the implementation process of this project, all the 40 million members of Matam are going to be enumerated, and all of them will be given this card. In this card, everything about you, everything about your business, everything that you need to know about taxation will be contained in it, including your tax identification number. I want to use this opportunity to advise request and call of all members to cooperate with MATAN so that this project becomes a reality.
Now to our first conversation now. With fuel subsidy removal, motorists are having to pay about 100% more to fuel their cars at a time where inflation is high and household incomes are squeezed. Let's explore alternatives, at this time. Joining me now is Chinedu Gwebu, Managing Director at OMA. Great to have you on the show.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and definitely it's not an easy time, to own a car.
Exactly.
In these parts. Now, I had to buy fuel to fill my car, something I'll do for about 10K. I had to pay over 20-something thousand. And I'm looking at it, I'm wondering, how am I going to sustain, that at this point? But how are you seeing, all of this with the subsidy removal and how much, people are having to pay now to fuel their cars?
It's a very tough time for a lot of people with the fuel prices. So it's not just diesel now, but, PMS has significantly gone up, right? But, Nigeria is endowed with gas. And, so that should have been conversations from, a few years before now, right? So even though we are feeling the pinch, this is a time for everybody, to see how we can make sure that gas utilization goes up, right? Because Nigeria has 900 times more gas than even the fuel that we're exploiting, right? So imagine all the gas reserves we have. Some of it is fled, some of it is exported. Not a lot of it is used domestically. So by the time we all start, migrating towards gas, it's going to bring down your cost of transportation. You'll be spending a lot less.
Right, and so much talk about compressed natural gas at this time, and how you can convert your car to start using gas, even your car as a petrol car, and I'm wondering, there is a huge cost to actually making that conversion. How is all of this playing out for you?
So the thing is, as a company, we've been doing this for a few years now. Yes, because petrol was, significantly subsidized, that delta didn't exist between gas and PMS. But there's been a lot, massive interest in that conversion. Now, people complain that cost of conversion is high, right? That it's not affordable. But how we think about it is, what's your payback time? Right? If you have a normal vehicle and it costs you X amount to convert, but then you save like 80% or 70% of your cost of fuel, it means that in a few months, you get that back, right? For commercial operators especially, payback time is as little as 3 months. So this is something that we all have to rally around. And then even though...
But talking about this, conversions, you would have to have the gas canister somehow installed,
correct,
into your car. Isn't that going to make your car heavier and actually consume, more energy to move?
Slightly heavier, right? So a Type 2 cylinder will cost or will weigh, say, maybe 50 kg extra, yes. But think about it. You said you spend 20-something thousand refueling your car, right? By the time you convert your car and then you're spending only 8,000, say 20% of the cost of getting the same mileage. Just imagine that, right? So, the full benefit actually then goes when people have NGVs. So when I say NGVs, so these are gas-powered vehicles that are OEM, from day one are running on gas. So, but because we have a lot of vehicles already using PMS, and then we have that need for conversion, right? I think that, and what's interesting too is, yes, everybody's bothered about safety, everybody's bothered about the extra cost, you're bothered about the extra
because it's quite scary having, a gas canister in my boot, and sometimes when the car gets really hot, when you're not driving and you have that, in your boots, it's quite scary.
No, but think about it. When you buy fuel, you're actually sitting on a petrol tank. Right? Gas is very mature technology these days. And, it's been in use in many countries, India, China, even the UAE. Sometimes you travel in a taxi and you see a gas canister. So it's really safe. So I'll say this is not just for the conversion companies. There needs to be education as well from, the media houses, right? Gas is safe, relatively mature, right? Nothing to worry about. And, how will I put it? Nigeria should be naturally a gas-powered nation. We shouldn't be importing fuel, right? And it's cleaner, not just from a commercial standpoint now, but it's also cleaner, it's healthier. And, we're talking about vehicles, but also for power generation, generators, even the face me, I face you, 1 kilowatt, pass my neighbor generator. You can convert that conversion kits, 10,000, 15,000 or something in 5 minutes. That conversion happens.
But hey, you also have to be careful who's helping you, install, that conversion for your generators, because if you get the wrong, installer, somebody that doesn't have the experience, it can cost you even more.
Exactly. So this is what we've been doing as well. We've been certifying technicians, we've been training technicians. We can't do it alone. The government also has to, in some way get involved in certifying service stations where you can do the vehicle conversion, where you can do the gas conversion, because just one, mishap could derail the whole process. So, but like I said, yes, very simple, and you can just start saving right away.
Oh, is there a possibility that maybe car makers, have started, making cars that are, made to drive on gas, originally, instead of, having to convert? Do we have that kind of, arrangement going on with car makers around?
Unfortunately, I didn't say this earlier, but that is why OMA was founded in the first place. I've been working with global OEMs for the past 20 years, and what we found out was that, it's hard for some of these companies to make modifications or, change their roadmap just because of us, right? The world's migrating to EVs, to fuel cell electric vehicles. But we thought that Nigeria is endowed with gas. Africa in general has massive gas reserves. Why don't we initially use gas as a transition fuel before the EVs and all, right? And that is how OMA was founded 3 years ago, right? And, it was born out of, okay, yes, we need to maximize this. There's massive savings, especially for the commercial operators, because like you said, to imagine the cost of transportation these days. Imagine all these vehicles have been running on gas, right? We wouldn't feel the pinch of, the subsidy.
We wouldn't need any subsidies.
We wouldn't need any subsidies, because this is something that is what we have, and, processing is done here, right? And just also comment, the whole idea or what I see is similar to, when the operators or networks kicked in, right? So it's a chicken and egg problem. Once there's more utilization downstream, so once you and I start using more gas, what will happen is that there will be more investment upstream, right? So we'll have more people put money in terms of distribution, we'll have more stations selling gas, there will be, more competition, prices will go down, and, before we know it, in fact, we'll all be benefiting from it.
All right. Paint a picture for me now, the CNG, value chain. What kind of investment is needed, in there to push it forward?
So just like I said, downstream, you need to have vehicle conversion centers. You need to have then the refuel station. There are quite a number of them, but it's just dotted around because there hasn't been this much demand. And then upstream, you have the mother stations, the daughter stations. So, but investments have to go in there. Right, so as more vehicles, so like I said, chicken and egg, as more vehicles are converted and are running on gas, what will happen is that more stations will spring up, and prices will potentially go down.
And to be a case where, okay, everyone is now using, CNG, and there's huge demand for CNG, then the price of CNG, starts to spike up. We won't have that kind of issue.
No, we wouldn't. And also, so it's not just CNG. So for more like, prime movers or bigger vehicles, LNG is an option. So that's the liquefied natural gas. There's also the LPG that we already have cooking gas. We can convert your vehicles to use LPG. So we don't see situations where these prices will go up. I think
will always be supply.
Just like the network still, the prices will continue to crash.
And there will be supply.
And there will be supply.
Ample supply. All right. Thank you so much, Chinedu Ogwegu, Managing Director, OMA. It was great having you.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we're looking at the pension industry. That's in a moment. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. Welcome back now to our next conversation. Nigeria's witnessed a shift in its pension system in about 2 decades with the introduction of a contributory pension scheme. As people search for financial security and stability, let's gauge the performance and what to expect as inflation, currency devaluation, and other macroeconomic issues weigh on this industry. Joining me now is Abimbola Sulaiman, Executive Director, Investments, ARM Pensions. Join us right here in the studio. Great to have you. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
So quite interesting times, looking at the macro things and issues that we're going through right now, from inflation. We're seeing what's happening, in our FX market. Everyone is squeezed, right now, and you still have to make your, contributions at this time. Definitely not an easy time for everyone. But how are you seeing, the industry at this time?
Right. I mean, I think one of the things that I always try to emphasize when we have conversation about pensions is it's a long game. It's a very long journey. The contributory pension scheme, it's going to be 20 years next year, the enactment of the law. We started in 2004. So yes, the current macroeconomic story is very challenging, and it's been for a while. But if you look at it in the context of the pension scheme, we're coming from 2004. So obviously in the economy, in the market, you will have dips and troughs. Markets always come in cycles, and it's important to highlight this. Of all the indices that you mentioned, inflation is the one that should be most concerning to pension savers, because at the end of the day, the whole point of a pension scheme is to preserve your purchasing power and your lifestyle when you retire. So inflation eating at the real purchasing value of money is a big concern. And how do you overcome that? I mean, it's a global issue. We have our own unique problems in Nigeria, but inflationary pressures are accelerating globally. So one of the ways to do this, obviously, is to have an investment strategy that protects the funds from inflation. But beyond that is for savers to take their pensions to heart and to think about how much do I need to be contributing to ensure that I can preserve a certain income level or a certain lifestyle at the point of retirement. So the 18% that the law states that you should contribute is a bare minimum. Some of us might be in a position to do more and should consider saving more so that you have, enough to live with at the point when you retire. On the investment side, we're trying to be very creative within the confines of the law and the regulation to put investments in asset classes that can protect purchasing power. So we're talking about alternatives like infrastructure, like real estate, like equity type structures where the return on the investment can keep up and hopefully outpace inflation.
Yeah, because I remember a story, sometime in Germany, back in the days, after a group of people were able to pay their pensions, at the end of the day, when it was time, they could only afford a cup of coffee, with their pension because of inflation, and inflation is a big enemy at this point. But when choosing a pension fund, administrator, what should I look out for?
So you want to look out for a reputable partner. With the question I ask people, and I say with tongue in cheek, I say, who's helping you? When you think about your health, your physical health, how maybe you want to write your will. A lot of these things, you're going to experts, right, and getting expert advice. The same thing with your financial health and your financial security. You want to find a partner that is on the same page with you, that is offering you more than the bare minimum. So the point you raised right now around, people in Germany losing purchasing power, you want to go to a PFA, for instance, that will offer you retirement and lifestyle planning services. These are add-on services that we provide at ARM Pensions, for instance, for us to think about, can we plot out a lifestyle map for you? What do you need to be doing now, for instance, to have, what's your goal? Let's start from there. And how do we help you, achieve that goal? So you're also looking for a partner with, reputation, longevity. Many of us in Nigeria, we say we're really young, the demographics are great, half of the contributors are under 40. So this conversation you're having them for 20, 30 years from now. So you want a partner that will stand the test of time, not just be around. I'm not suggesting that we have operators that won't last, but it's the credibility and the focus, the service delivery that should stand the test of time. Not just the fact that my PFA is around 20, 30 years from now, but can they live up to all those promises years from now? You want a healthy balance between risk and return. and you want to have a long-term focus. You know, if I give you an analogy, if you're trying to do a road trip, you're going from here to Sokoto, for instance, you're not going to make the decision about who's going to get you there fastest and safest by someone who overtook you on Third Mainland Bridge, right? It's a long journey. It's not really about what happened in the last month. You want to think about who's going to get me there safely with the least amount of risk and with the right sets of, you know, outcomes as planned, you know. So the pension scheme is very highly regulated. There are only about 21 operators, all reputable, but within that, you want to think about whose goals and whose, which of the operators' brand and ethos really align best with you. I mean, I don't mean to go on and on, but you do understand what I'm saying. It's a healthy balance, really, between risk, service delivery, and investment returns.
Big balance, definitely. But there's also that issue of additional voluntary, you know, contributions. Should the contributors be worried about this?
No, it's not an issue of worry at all. And we alluded to that in the earlier conversation. Additional voluntary contributions are contributions that you make over and above what the regulation mandates you to do. So the law says that you must contribute 18% of your annual income. 8% of that contribution comes from you, 10% comes from your employer. Additional voluntary contributions are contributions that you choose to make above that 18% minimum. And the more you contribute, obviously, the more you have later in life. The good thing about additional contributions is that you can have intermediate access to it. So it's just another tax-efficient saving vehicle. If you contribute more than is required by law, you have access to, you know, withdraw some of that money over a 5-year time frame. You don't have to wait till retirement. Of course, it's best that you wait till retirement because you want to ensure that in retirement, you are living comfortably. And the more you put away, the better off you're going to be in the long run. So I would encourage all of us to look into, and the beauty of additional voluntary contributions is that you make those contributions tax-free. So you make them from your income before it is taxed. So it's a very tax-efficient way of saving, unlike if you decide to kind of save on the side after you've paid taxes.
Right. And talking about, you know, choosing the PFA, you know, ever since the opening of that transfer, you know, window, there's been a focus on, you know, pension, you know, performance at this time. You see people, you know, in and out of, you know, PFAs. Is that the best way to go about it?
It really isn't the best way to do it. The transfer window is open for a reason. You should have choice for who provides such a critical service for you. However, you should make those decisions based on really long-term factors.
Just because the window is open doesn't
mean you have to transfer. And if you want to transfer, please don't transfer because of what happened in May. You know, this is a decision you're making for 20 years. You want to look at a long-term track record. You want to look at longevity. You want to look at service delivery. And you want to give your pension fund manager time to deliver on their promise. It really is not a decision to take based on 1 month of data, 3 months of data. This is a 40-year journey. You want to be convinced and you want to look at data that truly does predict what will happen in the long run.
No emotions.
No emotions. And what happens in 1 month is not a good predictor of what will happen in 30 years. So you want to make sure that you are making it an educated and well thought out decision.
What are the major areas, you know, people look for adjustments in, you know, when they're making these transfers?
How do you mean?
Like
how are people making those decisions today?
Once the window is open, what are those key concerns? You know, most of these contributors bring up, you know, when they're moving.
A lot of times people talk about service delivery. You know, am I getting the level of response and interaction and engagement from my provider? People talk about investment performance. In the context of investment performance, they tend to be very focused on the short term, and we're out there really preaching this message that please focus on the long term. It is a legitimate concern if you think that the long-term track record is not meeting your needs, but don't do it based on short-term data. Sometimes people are doing it for personal reasons, you know, brand alignment, you know, my brother works at that PFA and I want to go there. And that's not the way to make the decision, but I do understand, you know, sometimes you've got, I think those are the most common, really. It's really service delivery. A lot of times we hear about that, and we also hear about investment performance. In the past, we heard about inducements, but there's a recent regulation from the National Pension Commission that has really brought that, you know, to the back burner. pension funds are not allowed to offer inducements to customers to move.
No, buy one, get one free.
No, I'll give you access to one other product if you move your pension to me and things like that. The operators are not allowed to do that anymore. And so we've seen that being a trigger for moving, starting to go to the back burner.
Incredible. So can a one-man business have a retirement, savings account?
Absolutely. So recently, I believe it's just a couple of years old now, the micro pension scheme was launched. Remember, the contributory pension scheme was really designed for structured organizations, registered companies with 3 or more employees. But recently, there is regulation that allows self-employed, informal sector workers, one-man businesses to open retirement savings accounts for themselves with pension fund administrators. In that situation, you don't need to go through the typical sort of payroll deduction. You make your contributions willingly. For ARM pensions, if you download the app ARM Engage, you'll get the prompters for how to open a pension account very quickly and very seamlessly.
ARM Engage.
ARM Engage is the app. It's available on Google Store and on the Apple iOS as well.
All right, so how can the audience reach ARM, at this time if they want to, make inquiries?
So ARM Engage is the fastest one. Everyone is on a smartphone today, so download the app. But of course, armpension.com is the website. We've got the branch in every state of the Federation, all 36 states, and at the FCT. So if you prefer to deal in person, find the nearest branch to you on our website and visit. You can call ARM. It's 0700 call ARM, and we're just one phone call away. So I think that through the offices, the website, the app, the phone, one of these methods
will
be convenient for you to reach out.
A customer will say we cannot reach ARM.
No, not at all.
You have every platform available. Thank you so much. It was great having this conversation with you. Bimbola Soaiman, she's the Executive Director, Investment, ARM Pensions. It's great having your perspective
so much
today.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a look at what's happening on the commodities, in the commodities market. Now, all eyes still on the FX market, the I&E window, and the parallel market. We hear there's some kind of convergence going on right there. Let's get a sense. Right now, joining me is Oluwatomi Mayowa, analyst, financial derivatives company. Great to have you on the show, Mayowa.
Good morning, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
Right, so what's the difference right now between the I&E window and the parallel market? How's it looking?
So yesterday it's depreciated to as low as 815, and then we still have the parallel market at about 750. So basically, we're having a minus like about 51 naira difference. That's now the exchange rates at the I&E window is actually expensive than what it is at the parallel market. But before we go further into the implication of this, let me first of all try to explain what is happening on the I&E window. Basically, I would say that it's natural for currency markets, for us to see this fluctuation because they are by nature volatile, and that's why we're seeing these price fluctuations. And explaining it in economic terms, I would say that most of the times where the market is in disequilibrium, we tend to see markets actually exaggerate prices. And in the context of bringing it to the forex market, we had about 664 naira per dollar some days ago. Now it's as at that time, most suppliers will not want to, supply at that rate because they feel it's so low. And then as a result of that, we'll see higher demand. And so because of that, later the rate will further move upwards. And that's because of that increase in the price, we'll see demand fall. As a result of that, all of those things are actually allowing the price to fluctuate, and we would continue to see this happening until because at this time when all of this disequilibrium is happening, the level of the deviation tends to actually reduce until we see until we see the price come into equilibrium. And what I mean by equilibrium is where demand is equal to supply. And most importantly, it's when the rationing and the forex rationing and restriction, reduce extensively, we'll tend to see supply improve, and then we'll see the price of the naira actually appreciate in the I&E window. So basically, all of this, we're going to see this happen. Now that it's at 815, we'll most likely see the naira actually appreciates today, because most people would not want to buy at that rate, right? So that would actually force down the price of naira. So because of the forex structure, the forex market structure has changed. We're now seeing market forces playing into the forex market. Now, talking about the implication actually for commodities markets. For commodities that are exported, it's definitely going to make our commodities cheaper. That's what is being exported will be cheaper to other countries, because now that the naira actually depreciated. But then when we look at the commodities that are imported, we are talking about there are three factors that actually determine that: the global price of that commodity, the shipping price, and also the naira to dollars, the value of our currency. So all of currently talking about wheat prices have actually increased because of the supply problems with Ukraine and Russia, even though it's not as high as what we had last year. That would actually influence the price of the commodity, and coupled with the depreciation in the naira. So we're going to see commodities are imported into Nigeria increase. However, because of most consumers now have less income with them, they might buy less, and that might reduce the rate at which those commodity prices will actually increase.
All right, countdown to July 1st, the multi-year tariff order there. Expectations, electricity tariff is going to increase by about 40%. Are we expecting any palliatives yet? What are you hearing about that?
Well, the multi tariff order is actually what this industry actually used to ensure that the electricity tariff is actually cost reflective of what is happening now. That's the pricing inflation, the pricing exchange rate. So they are trying to ensure that the price of electricity, that's the tariff, is actually cost reflective. That's why we are seeing that review. It is usually within 6 months, and sometimes in different in some years. So we are seeing that price review, which is actually going to begin in July. And coupled with the fact that you're going to pay for more for electricity, you're going to pay more for fuel, you're going to, everything is increasing significantly. Right. This is actually taking more money from the consumer, and this has serious implications for the demand, for the aggregate demand of commodities. And so we're going to see reduced demand, in the market, especially in the short term, if nothing is, done in the side of the government. Now the government has taken away more money from the consumer, but if they are not returning that money back into the economy in terms of scholarships, some other sort of palliative to be able to cushion the effect of all of this reduction in consumer income, it would not support demand. So it's very important that the government, return this money back into the system, especially investing it in productive sector that would increase employment and all of that. So unless we see this, we would see consumer income, disposable income continue to decline as a result of all of this.
Right, so much to unpack there, Oluwatomi. And I know definitely the domestic commodities market is seeing, some impact, gradually. How's it looking?
Well, it's actually mixed. For the onions, pepper, tomatoes, all of that, the prices are actually increasing. One, because we are not in the season at the moment, and so there's a short supply in the market, and so but for rice, basically it's still the same, because most people, there's a low inventory turnover rate, because like I initially explained, that all of the price increase in few people are having their disposable income is actually declining, so they are demanding less in the market. So there's less incentive for producers and suppliers to actually increase their price. And this is one of the things that might slow down the pace of inflation. Even though inflation is going to shoot, that's going to increase. We're going to see that increase in July, August. It might begin to taper towards the ending of the year, because consumers are actually going to start cutting on their costs and reducing their demand.
Yeah, disposable incomes are really squeezed at this time. So, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Oluwatomi Mayowa, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Always great having your perspective. Thank you. All right, now let's take a look at what's happening with the markets now. We have, Will, another green close yesterday, 59,323 points.
Yes,
Not
that's
bad.
it, because it was up 0.36%, and thanks to Boa Cement, was able to lift the market up yesterday. A lot of construction is still happening, so investors are looking around, moving their portfolio around and seeing where best to put their monies right now. And right now, I think the cement industry is where to go. Well, I'm not giving advice, though, but just saying.
Not financial advice.
Just saying, no financial advice. But equities sustained a positive performance in yesterday's trading session. We saw interest in Boa Cement. I also mentioned that, which underpinned the market performance. Looking at the all-share index, it rose by 0.36% to settle at 59,323 points. Market cap is still at 32 trillion naira mark. But we're going to bring in Phil Anegbe, is head of research, Cardinal Stone Securities, to give us more insights as to what to expect from the market, what opportunities still lie there, and what investors should be playing at, the stocks investors should be looking at. Good morning, Phil. It's good to have you.
Yeah, good morning, Will. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, Phil, we're seeing stocks right now. Investors are kind of like moving around their monies, so seeing where to play. Where best do you think investors are going to see a sustained profit, seeing that we're having a bullish trend, but we don't know how long it's going to last for?
Well, we think that despite the recent gains we've seen in some names, there are potential opportunities that still lock around some fundamental names. For instance, within the banking space, we think that there are some banks like GT, Zenith, UBA, maybe you add to that list Access Bank, that are strong enough to weather the storm, the current storm. They have very decent capital adequacy ratios. I think in most cases, their buffers, capital adequacy ratio buffer relative to regulatory requirements, is in excess of 400 basis points. So that's some comfortable buffer, right, to weather potential storms that may arise as a result of expansion of risk assets. And that could more or less shape some of these buffers. But we think that by and large, they're still likely to remain good. They're also likely to experience material FX revaluation gains, and of course, interest income component that is affected by FX revaluation or changes is likely to also grow. And then we are seeing a lot of, we expect to see a lot of FX-related transactions that will support fee and commission income going forward. So we like those banks. But outside of those banks, we also see some names that are very good fundamentally sound names. Names like MTN in the telecom space. We like the cement players. We like Dangote Cement. We like WAPCO. We think WAPCO is materially undervalued by the market, and the prospects are that with increased spend in infrastructure and more or less improved regulatory and maybe business environment, those companies are likely to thrive, because in our view, we are likely to see concerted efforts get towards more or less driving infrastructural developments across the country in the coming months and years going forward. So interesting times ahead.
Really interesting times, Phil. I really like what you've just given us. Good outlook, good insights. So what stocks, how do you think the market will close today? I think just let's close out with that. Is it going to be bullish or bearish?
Well, we think that we are likely to see stocks, particularly the names I mentioned, play around their current levels as a result of a mix of profit taking, and then some other people are more or less bargain hunting. For those who know that there are still potential upsides to be more or less harvested in those names, they will still lock around. So we expect For instance, Zenith GT, we think between 30 32 is proving to be some sort of a support level for those stocks. And the same applies for the other strong fundamental names. So we expect by and large markets to remain mostly similar in terms of direction to what we saw yesterday. And eyes, of course, will be placed on potential information from the MSCI classification review for Nigeria that's expected to take place today. So one eye will be placed on that, but then impacts from that end is likely to more or less hit the market tomorrow or maybe in subsequent sessions. But then it depends on the outcome of the deliberations. We hope for the best that Nigeria will be removed from that review, and then foreign investors may begin to reevaluate the investment case of Nigeria once again.
Fantastic, fantastic, Phil. Thank you so much for those insights. Phil Anegbe, Head of Research, Cardinal Stone Securities, for sharing those insights. And we look forward to Nigeria being taken out of that review and, you know, we having a stable, more stable outlook in terms of equities performance. So, Ladi, that's what the market is saying. You heard Phil. We're just going to be waiting for that review from the MSCI, you know, see what that, that holds
that
for
would
Nigeria.
definitely give a direction
for the markets as to the indices, what index, where do we fall?
Right.
And on the sphere of the global trading sphere.
So much to look out for, and I'm wondering when we're going to, maybe next week, that 59K level, we might clear that level, maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll hit our resistance, maybe go higher, hit new highs.
There's a new resistance at this point.
At this point, and like hit another resistance level.
At that level, right. So much to unpack there. Thank you so much,
no
Will, there, giving us the details from the NGX and the fixed income market. But now, all roads lead to Paris. It's a summit for new global financing pact, and we have Juliana right there, and she has a guest for us right there at the event. I'll be speaking with Mr. Abiodun Dunuga, co-founder, Friends of Nigeria, right there in Paris. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, good morning. Good to be here.
Good morning. So tell us what you're expecting, from the summit, what's happening currently.
Yeah, interesting times here. The summit was predicated upon the COP27 climate change conference that happened in Morocco last year. And one of the mainstream discussions was about climate change, but most importantly, financing for the global south. But nothing was talked about that. And just after the COP27 in Morocco, President Macron called on the G20 to come together and made a current call on this summit that on this summit there will be a financial pact that will mainstream discussions on how we can finance climate. But beyond that, President Macron is saying not just the climate change pact needs finance, we also need finance with respect to health and global poverty. And this is what we discussed at this summit with all stakeholders, mainstreaming discussion with the global south, and Nigeria also is part of that discussion.
And how would you rate, Nigeria-French relations currently?
Oh, interesting. Nigeria-French relations, I think, has been growing. As a case study, for instance, Nigeria, just for context, is the topmost trade partner in France in sub-Saharan Africa. So as a matter of fact, in 2020, the trade volume between Nigeria and France was about 2.3 billion, despite COVID. In 2021, it moved from 2.3 to 3.5, and just last year was about $5.4 billion. And so the trade volume is going stronger, and we're beginning to see more interest in other non-traditional sectors, such as renewable energy, the creative sector, education, and other areas like technology and digital innovation.
Looking at, how French investors, think, what industries do you see them really keen on in Nigeria?
Well, agriculture, for instance, is playing a major role. Recently, the French Minister for State for Development was around, and an MOU was signed with the Kwara State government, for instance, to modernize livestock farming. We're also seeing interest in the creative sector and digital innovation. Also, was launched in Lagos about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the French Tech Lagos. And that's also to be able to ensure that partnerships in the France-Nigeria relations when it comes to tech, when it comes to partnerships, innovation, are beginning to get stronger. So we're seeing more startups, for instance, in Nigeria who are making France a home as a gateway to Europe. So we expect that most of these conversations will begin to happen. And just lastly also, I'm sure you also realize that we have what is called the France-Nigerian Business Council. and that is also headed by the Access Bank chair, Debra Igwe. And so all of these dynamics are beginning to make France an interesting destination for Nigeria. And also the reverse also plays a major role. So most French investors are beginning to play more role and see Nigeria as a destination for foreign investment, and to also be able to ensure that Nigeria remains and maintains that position for the best or most important trade partner for France in sub-Saharan Africa.
Looking at what's happening here with our FX market, do you think French investors are excited with a flotation of the naira?
I mean, they're excited. I think the body language of our president, the new president, is quite interesting. So right now, I think with the policies coming out, from what the feel we get, the president is sending a very good body language, a very good gesture. And most investors are already getting excited. As a matter of fact, he's been able to, beyond the conference, where he's going to be meeting with the presidents around the world, he's been able to also allot time to meet, especially with foreign investors, on a face-to-face visit to assure them that he's here for business. So we're happy that he hit the ground running. And most importantly, also, I think also his gesture in the security arena, because as you know, most states in Nigeria are on the red zone. So with the appointment of new chiefs, signaling to people that I'm also taking security as a major focal point. So once we're able to get that set up, I think more investors will come into the country, and hopefully we have the chiefs who would also come and devour like lions and like tiger. To be able to assure and boost confidence, not just of the foreign investors, but of the diaspora also.
Fantastic. Well, it's a two-day event, and we'll definitely keep tracking, what goes on there at the summit. Thank you so much. We've been talking to Abiodun Odunuga, co-founder of Friends of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
Yeah, so we still have Juliana right there, and she's going to be sending us details as they come from that summit right there in Paris. Let's head on to other markets now. Let's take a look at what's happening in the crypto space now. We see Bitcoin did start a major rally above that 28,500 resistance, and we see greed. That's the sentiment in the market. 65 points were greed yesterday, and we're back still in greed right now for investors in the crypto market, showing they're quite bullish right now with what's going on with Bitcoin. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies that we track. We see Bitcoin at $30,158, up 4.22%. Continued that rally we saw from that 24,000 level. Ethereum is also not left out, 4.74% up, $1,905, breaking above that 1,800 level. Binance Coin still quite slow this morning, $251, up marginally, down marginally 0.14%. But we see Cardano's not also left out there, 29 cents, trying to get back above that 30 cent range, 5.18%. But XRP is down 2.40%, not joining the rally with the top 100 coins that we see right now. I think we have Rume Ovi, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning.
Yeah, so looking quite bullish, and even though I call you Rume the bear, but the market is looking quite bullish unexpectedly. How are you seeing things right now in the market?
Well, Larry, what is happening is we're going back again to having a short-term relief. All of these are driven by sentiment in the market. I think this time has to do with all of the spot Bitcoin ETF by the biggest fund manager in the world, BlackRock, and a couple of others that have joined. I think about 3 of them. I think that is actually bringing people to understand that there's an interest here. But something that they really need to consider is the fact that when some of these big events happen, it just happened for a while. And what I mean a while, I mean the interest of people jumping in, forgetting the fact that that the Fed actually paused for now because they are going to resume. And some of these statements around the Fed is that we could see interest rate hike continue subsequently. So I'm looking at it from this aspect whereby we could have a situation where no one will be talking about all of these ETF spots going on now that is causing all of these buzz in the next 2-3 months. And also, you can see the market in asset, the crypto asset market bill that was passed in Europe. The EU Parliament passed that. It's still being worked on. So that's a MiCA. MiCA, they are updating more like a MiCA 2.0 to improve on it to get a better regulation. So, and the first time that was passed, the market dumped significantly to about 15K or thereabout late last year. Anytime that happened, we see a rejig in the market. So people shouldn't be carried away. Right, this is very good, giving exposure to crypto. TradFi coming into the market, making a lot of sense, right? But again, they need to understand that we can't all just put our eggs in one basket. Probably we might see, we might see some big move up like 35K, hopefully. But I'm not convinced that this is the bull market.
And it looks like I had a look at the market and I see those meme coins. The meme coins are starting to move again. Do you think this time there'll be some kind of sustained rally with those meme coins, or is it gonna vanish almost immediately?
There've been a couple of meme coins that we barely talk about. Like I was asking yesterday on social media, please, where is Safe Moon, right? And a couple of others. Meme coin don't have utility. They don't have utility at all. It's just about people making money. And you most time hear young people say that. I know of somebody that has made millions of dollars from meme coin, but the truth is that you just hear, you don't see the people actually making this money. Right about now, we saw that the Bitcoin dominance went to about 50%. This is the highest since about 2021, right? When the Bitcoin dominance actually goes up that way, you see that a lot of these altcoins actually lose direction. That is, they don't gain enough. All of their money that's supposed to go through them actually goes into Bitcoin, which means Bitcoin is having a lot of attraction at that point in time. So if you're seeing meme coin gain traction now a bit, it's as a result of the fact that they are hopeful that when the Bitcoin dominance drops, cash is going to flow into meme coins. But that's not the case here. What will happen is that we're going to see a situation whereby Bitcoin dominance is probably going to even move more than that to make them hopeful. Then probably we'll see some downside going forward.
Downside, that up and down movement, and there's always that person that they claim has made life-changing money from meme coins, but we never really see that person. Quite interesting. But thank you, Rume Ofi. Always great having your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, lad. It's my pleasure.
All right, let's look at the top gainers now. Let's see who's topping that count this morning. We see it's a meme coin. Pepe, that's topping the counter, 37.10%, less than a penny. CFX, Confluence still continuing on that bullish run, 15.95%. Let's look at the top losers now. See, RPL is topping that counter, just a marginal loss, 1.96%. And we see some stable coins showing the traders are trying to get back into the market at this time, moving away from stable coins. So that's how the market is looking. It's greed right now, 65 points. So that's a wrap on the program today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. You can watch this again on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube, search for Channel Television, click on our videos. You can watch all our productions. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye-bye.